What's up, guys?
Hello.
Coming to you, want to talk to you about our ranking of the MCU.
The first 20 anyway.
That's right.
Can't rank the ones we haven't
So we've got
haven't come out yet.
Captain Marvel coming up,
And the second Spider-Man, second Black Panther, if they come back from their demise.
and then
in
Avengers
Infinity
4 next year.
Spoiler alert.
So we've got that. I think Doctor Strange's got a second one next year.
Yeah, I'm looking forward to that.
But anyways, so
he was my favorite character from that. Avengers.
We're obviously this isn't an exact list, although according to us it is.
Right. You feel free to disagree.
Yeah. So
feel free to be wrong.
Don't take it personally. I know everybody's picky about their MCU.
Right.
But we had fun doing this. We love all the movies. So he might not like Iron Man 3. Spoiler alert, which one's on the bottom, but I like all of them, even though I rank some of them better than others, and we'll argue that.
We're gonna go from the bottom.
We'll argue that, and
to the cream of the
crop.
So
here is the top 20 MCU. All right, so number 20, obviously Iron Man 3.
If I could put a bullet in its head, I would.
So before you talk about the negative, what you hated about it.
Yeah.
I'll talk about what I liked about it. I liked the development of Iron Man himself. I like Iron Man when he gets away from being a complete jerk to being a superhero. I really like that. And you really saw that in Avengers 1, and you see it more in Avengers 2, and it really gets played out a lot in Iron Man 3, and I really like that. I thought the twist was interesting. Now, I'll qualify that. If they had used any other villain in the movie, it would have been excellent. But I think the main problem people had was that they used the Mandarin, which is, Iron Man's biggest foe.
His best foe.
And so...
his antithesis.
So I can understand why people hated it. And I thought, for the twist itself, if you're going to ignore comic book history, because I can't, when I watched it, I didn't know a lot of Iron Man stuff. So I was able to ignore it and just enjoy it as a movie. But just the twist itself, I think is really, really interesting. I thought some of that was funny, that he was just an actor and was paid. But again, it was kind of a letdown for what they were advertising. So,
okay, my turn. As an Iron Man fan, as a Mandarin fan who put up with some really stupid stories over the years, I was so excited for this daggone movie. I love the use of all those different armors. I loved that the Mandarin was coming to attack him at his home, and Iron Man was like, I ain't worried about that, dude. He's like, some call me a terrorist. I consider myself a teacher. I love that line. That whole where he's blowing his house to bits, I'm like, in the previews, I'm like, yes, I can't wait for this movie to come out.
If you'd say, up into the twist, did you enjoy the movie?
For the most part. I thought it was an interesting journey for the character of Iron Man, Tony Stark, to have to rely rather not on the suit but on his own wits. In some ways, I saw that as a step back, but considering how big his head had gotten over the course of the first two movies and how spooked he got after the first Avengers movie as a result of going into space with the bomb and saving New York and all that. I thought it was good character development overall. I don't know that he had to go back to not having the armor to learn that lesson, but I get it. I'm just not a fan of what they did to my favorite Iron Man villain.
Yeah, what I didn't like was it did he wasn't really the Mandarin. They called him the Mandarin, but I was like, this guy isn't the Mandarin. He's just some guy, random C-list villain with a weird power.
He was important in the comic books for the extremist storyline where Iron Man gets the nanotech that he can call whenever he wants. Um, so I get the use. They just didn't need to include the Mandarin. It's like what they did with Spider-Man 3 with Venom,
Yeah.
Sandman, and the Goblin. We don't need all of them at the same time.
Which I think if we were to list like the worst superhero movie, that would be mine. Spider-Man 3.
If our list were based on this should have been amazing and it turned into trash, yes, I would agree with that.
Is there one that's worse?
Yes, What's there that? Are. The 90s Fantastic Four movie that they literally made a movie of just to say they made a movie.
I haven't watched that.
The Captain America movies from back in the day.
It can't be that bad.
Oh, they're terrible. You should totally watch Cinema Sins, with honest trailers. That's what it is.
All right, we'll talk about this
great.
later.
It's great. No.
We gotta keep going.
Anyway, I just look. Let me just tell you about this. So the Mandarin, okay, he's Asian, obviously Chinese, and he has a desire. He's like anti-technology. Like that's his deal. Like he wants to rule the world in a way that technology is non-existent.
So like the Marvel Ra's al Ghul?
Something like that. And if they had taken that approach, I can't imagine it wouldn't have been amazing. And I thought that's the way they were going. Even if they didn't make him Asian or whatever. I mean, because Middle Eastern technically is still part of the Orient. I mean, I don't want you to play up like he's got... he talks like a stereotypical Asian character. I don't need any of that. I just like the idea of Iron Man is like this obsessive technology guy, and yet the guy he's fighting is like so anti-technology that it just comes down to two guys standing there opposed to one another on philosophical grounds, and they've got to determine who's going to win. Yeah. I mean, it's literally old school versus new school, and it doesn't have to be racist. And from what I understand, they did the twist, and they made him more of a terrorist and less anti-technology to avoid some sort of offensive stereotypes. And I think they could have done that even if they kept the character true to form with the power rings and
they made him more. They made him more Middle Eastern instead of Chinese.
Well, technically, it's all part of what at one time was considered the Orient. So I didn't find that to be terrible. Again, my biggest beef is like they did away with like what was so interesting about the Mandarin versus Iron Man.
Yeah.
So
once I learned about the history, I was upset. I was like, couldn't you have used like a better villain that we didn't care about, or the fans didn't care about? I didn't care at the time, but the fans didn't care about. And
so here's a we'll probably make videos out of this at some point, but I mean they easily could have had Justin Hammer be the main villain and have Firepower, which is like this super powered robot that comes across at the end of the original Armor Wars, be the big bad at the end, and Justin Hammer finally goes to prison. Like I know he's in prison in the what is that short movie? I forget. Anyway, it sort of redeems. They're seeking to redeem the Mandarin character. So they visit the guy who played Mandarin in prison, and then the Mandarin wants to kill him for having pretended to be him. Anyway,
but they built up as if it was going to be the Mandarin, and it wasn't. It'd be like building a huge movie about
to the Joker, and it turns out to be Calendar Man,
or about like Doomsday and it not being Doomsday.
Right. Like it's
or Batman versus Superman, and they didn't even really fight. All right. Anyways, all right. So we gotta keep going.
So that's number
19.
20. Number 19 is Thor number 2.
So
weak villain.
I enjoyed this movie, but something about it is just wasn't as interesting. Didn't really have that lasting quality in general. I mean, I enjoyed hearing the story, but I mean it wasn't exciting. It didn't. The story was
right. It was just there.
Whatever.
Yeah, it was just there.
So, I don't think they really developed a lot of characters in there. Some of the weird stuff with the The scientist guy, he's kind of running around doing something weird, and
I forget his name.
it's weird. I did enjoy when Jane Foster went to Asgard. That was fun.
And then she just disappeared.
So
we could have written her out in this movie.
Yeah.
Just had her die.
But
or go on, just like deuces, Thor. I don't want you anymore.
I mean, I like Eccleston. I think he did a fine job, and as the villain, I just didn't feel like it was that interesting of a story.
Yeah.
So I don't know much else to say about it. Should have been much better than it was.
In older comics, when folks were running behind schedule with their current issues, they would pull from this file drawer like a fill-in story. Thor #2 is the fill-in story of the Marvel Cinematic Universe.
That's funny.
We're not sure what to do here because we're pretty much holding over till Avengers comes out or whatever was coming after that. And
that could have been one of the problems. It had nothing to do with anything.
Right.
All the others had tied in intrinsically the Avengers plots, and Thor 2 really didn't have much to do with it at all.
Right. Maybe if they had tried to make it a flashback story. Previously on Thor.
But, I mean, Thor 3 was amazing.
No, it's good. We'll
so
talk about
they
that
turned
later.
that corner real well. All right, number 18, Iron Man 2.
Okay, so the movie is really good up to the last battle that lasts all of 5 minutes, and you're like, I waited for that. The battle on the racetrack I thought was excellent. I love the suitcase armor. That is such a Easter egg for fans of the character, and I love the look because it's like the movie version of the Silver Centurion armor, which is the armor he was rocking when I first encountered Iron Man, and I love that armor.
I mean, you have Black Widow showing up, which was awesome. We're like, what? Did she just make it into the film? Because we're like, that's really when we started gearing up for Avengers.
Right.
And she shows up, Nick Fury shows up, and we're just
Iron Man's drinking and screwing up his life, and instead of making that a slow burn story, which should have started in the first one, I think.
Yeah.
They tried to cram it all in there. So
I think my favorite part of the movie is War Machine.
Yes.
He's great.
I love me.
Especially he's the one at the end that fights with him, or is that the third movie?
No, that they fight together against
in that little pool.
Whiplash. Yes,
yeah,
it's like a bunch of robots, and they just.
That was excellent. That was fun.
Right. So, like, as a final thing, that's fine. But I really wanted to see some heavy metal, fighting, in that scene where like War Machine and Iron Man are literally punching it out and blasting and just going to town on those robots. But
if anything, I would have taken Whiplash out and just made it about the other guy.
Hammer.
The inventor guy who sent all the robots after him.
Justin Hammer. Yeah.
I don't know.
No, I mean, thank you. Like,
would have been just fine. Or, I mean, I don't know.
It's one of those things where it should have been better than it was.
Movies try to throw too much into a movie very often. Batman vs. Superman. And it's just like, why did you throw these many villains in one movie? Just make it about like one villain.
Yeah.
Anyways. So it's not a bad movie. It's just not a great movie.
You'll just be disappointed at the end if you're expecting something more than what you get. Yeah. And I was. I want my bird.
All right.
Give me my bird.
So this might be controversial to some extent, but number 17, Guardians of the Galaxy 2.
Curse of the second movie.
I liked some of this movie. I liked how much they traveled around and did everything. And I enjoyed the plot with his father. Mm-hmm. But at the end, I was just like, it just didn't live up to the first movie.
Now, I haven't seen this one. But here's a question for you. Do they build for Avengers 3 with Thanos and Gamora?
They have hints in there.
Like she doesn't. So when Star-Lord is dealing with his dad, is Gamora there comforting him and letting him know family sucks sometimes?
Yeah, I mean they talk about that. So.
Okay, all right.
They talk about it more in Avengers 3, but.
Right. I just didn't know if they were laying like real groundwork in that movie or if it was just like, hey, we're gonna drop this.
Yeah, and there's some really great relationship stuff in there.
Yeah.
Between all the characters. and I really enjoyed that. Baby Groot is hilarious
Yeah.
throughout the whole movie. I think the main problem is with the movie
First of the second
was
movie.
oh, what's his name? The bigger guy.
Drax.
Drax. He was boring. Like he had nothing to do in the movie, and he ended up making basically fart jokes in the whole movie, and that's it. He was relegated to that. I was like, that's stupid. Like,
because he was amazing in Avengers
he was
3,
great.
and he was great in the first one.
Well, and he had depth. He had like character. He was driven.
Right.
And in this movie, he just kind of sat around and made jokes that didn't land. And I'm just like, what a waste. Like,
right. He's such a.
If you don't have anything to do with the character, send him away. Have him do something.
Right.
And just
send him on a mission.
Just don't show him or whatnot, or have him be something that someone have to go find.
Oh, that's a good one. He's kidnapped or something. Yeah.
I don't know. That's why I didn't like it.
See, if he were making the jokes as a prisoner, that might have been really funny.
There's a really good one with Rocket Raccoon and Taserface. He's like, Taserface, is that your real name? That's a terrible name. Taserface. You're like, oh, I want a really bad name, and he went with Taserface. Hilarious. Hilarious. And Baby Groot is hilarious in that movie. I enjoyed the movie. It wasn't my favorite. So.
I did like the cameo of the original Guardians later in the movie.
That's right. All right, so this might be the biggest controversial one, and I'm gonna make a good argument for it, I think.
And I'm gonna let him.
Number 16 is Black Panther. So I know some people.
Why is it so low?
Some people are like, "This is my favorite movie." I'm just like, it was okay. And here's why I didn't like it.
As a standalone movie, I'm sure it's fine. But it's supposed to world build and serve as part of the Avengers. So it got distracted from
what I liked about it is it did a great job of introducing us to his country,
Wakanda,
and
forever.
There's a really cool battle at the end. He has some cool battles in the movie for his kingship, and that's really cool. But I felt like I think where it suffered was you really didn't get to see him as Black Panther. So you see him as, the king or the potential heir to the king fighting, and that was okay. I enjoyed those scenes. But I'm like, if you really want Black Panther, where you should go is go watch Civil War, because he is phenomenal in that movie.
Save that for later, sir.
Right, he is phenomenal in that. So if you compare them, like, Black Panther is better when it's not his own movie. I'm just like, that's not really...
See, this movie, though, unfortunately, it serves to introduce characters that you're going to feel bad when they die in Avengers 3. Don't make movies like that. Make movies where we care about them in this movie. And I think the themes of the movie, from all the different critiques and things that I've read, I think it is a deep movie.
Right.
Like, I think as far as movie making goes, this is an amazing movie.
Yeah.
And by itself, I think you could rank it higher easily. But when we're comparing it to what the rest of the movies are doing, it seems somewhat out of place.
Yeah.
Except to make you mad that certain characters don't make it at the end of Avengers 3. And these characters are so much more important than just being killed at the end of a movie.
Yeah.
Does that make sense? So anyway.
I did enjoy the relationship that he had with his with the FBI guy, because that is pretty big in the comics. And I enjoyed him and the other leader of the other tribe.
M'Baku?
Yeah, something like that. I really enjoyed that.
In the comics, his name is Man-Ape, but they were worried that that would be offensive, and so...
So I really enjoyed that part of the story too, and he has to go back to them and plead for him to fight. And they got political, and I thought that was they had some good things to say in politics as well, which I really liked.
Right.
I know there was a big to-do and everything. And I'm like, I just
Right, because we're in
tired of
America,
that.
and it's always a big to do.
Yeah, I'm just like, forget the politics. I just want a good movie. Really. But then but the main reason I would rank it so low is because I felt like he was better. Black Panther was a lot more interesting in Civil War than he was in his own movie, which is really sad.
Right, because he takes a backseat to all the other stuff that's going on in the movie in a lot of ways.
He should really just be out there, taking control and everything. And I thought that would be really awesome.
But let me just say, as a cast, this is a great cast of actors.
I mean,
they really, good stuff.
The guy who played the villain, I think it's Michael
Jordan.
Amazing job. The only problem I had with him was
he used to be
it wasn't
the
him.
Human Torch and that abominable thing.
It wasn't him. It was the last battle because it was terrible. Like it was half the time blocked by a subway or a train that was, and I was like, we're not even seeing half of the battle because there's a train in the way. It's kind of like that George Lucas re-edit of episode 4 or episode 1.
Don't let us go down. Let us not go down that path.
Anyway, so that's why I rank it low. I enjoyed the movie. I like him better in Civil War. He's so much better. And
all I know is I was
so
excited in Avengers 3 when he and
give that man a shield.
No, when he and the rival tribe leader kind of do that little acknowledgement of it, so we may have our differences, but when it comes down to it, we're gonna ride or die together.
And I felt like he was a throwaway character in Avengers 3. That was one of my main problems with Avengers 3.
Black Panther? I'm not talking about him. I'm talking about just that relationship.
I know. I was just saying. The 3 movies he's been in, I felt like 2 of them he was kind of a throwaway character, and the only one that he was like a really great character was Captain America 3.
Yeah, Civil War.
Yeah. Anyway,
spoiler, that's going to be higher on the list.
All right, so number 15, Thor 1. I really hated to put this that low because I really enjoyed the movie.
He did such a great job.
It was a great movie. People were like, Thor, why would we go see like this ancient, Norse god?
Yeah, and so Kenneth Branagh was the director, and he has like a Shakespearean background, and for the Asgardian stuff, and then Thor being sort of pompous on Earth, I thought that worked so well. Like they really captured the feel of like the Kirby stuff and the Stanley stuff from the 60s or whatever. I thought it was great.
It was fun. It was so good.
But
the only reason I rank it this low is because all the others are just
so good.
even better.
Yeah.
So we had a hard time ranking some of these, but
we had to work from the top down for the first 10, and then from the bottom up for the last 10.
And then we just filled in a bunch of spaces.
And we would gladly move these around some. Not Iron Man 3. You suck, and I don't like you.
All right, so 14. Ant-Man 1. Have you seen this one?
I know.
I
remember we were somewhere and you were trying to convince me to go watch it, but we were with a group. Oh, it was a trip to Vermont we went on.
Oh, okay.
And nobody would like stay in the town we were in long enough for us to watch the movie and not have us like get abandoned in the middle of Vermont somewhere.
It's a good movie. I really enjoyed it.
I love Scott Lang, the character.
The only reason it's this low is I felt like it's kind of a more self-contained movie that doesn't connect to the others. And one of the great things about a lot of the other ones above it is it really connects with a lot of the other stuff, or it's just really great. But and so I really enjoyed it. It's a very plain and simple story. But I really enjoyed Ant-Man.
I love some Paul Rudd. That dude is funny.
It's a really great. And I'll talk more when we get to the second one. But
if I will see the movie at some point because I enjoy the character Ant-Man.
And he's heard me talk about it all the time.
Plus, I just thought the Thomas the Train scene was hilarious from the previews. So I just got to find time to sit down and watch it.
That's a funny scene.
Yeah.
And so it's
But
you got this like really climactic, like he's on a train and it looks like he's about to get run over, and then they zoom out and it's just like this little
Thomas
toy
the
train.
yeah, right. It hits him and derails him. Yeah. So yeah, I just
it's on the it's very on the nose. Like they know how ridiculous the character is in
and
real
they're just
life,
leaning into
but
it
it's so funny
instead of trying to lean away from it.
Because I feel like if you did like a movie about the Atom on DC, like it'd be more serious.
Right, it would have to be.
He might be more of a silly character and like he jokes a lot, but he's not like, but like the stuff he deals with is very serious.
Right.
But he's not. But he is. The story's not. Whereas Ant-Man can be a lot more
goofy.
Right. So
honey, I Shrunk the Superhero.
And that's one thing I like about it is just it doesn't take itself seriously. It's just a funny movie.
And I like it
with a good story.
When characters that can be silly don't take themselves too seriously. I look at Elongated Man or Plastic Man even. They're hilarious. So.
All right, number 13.
Avengers
2. If you had asked me a few years ago when this came out, I wouldn't have put it this low.
Yeah.
But I think as time has settled, it goes down on my list, and maybe because other movies come out that I think are better. But
we thank you, Avengers 2, for the introduction of Ultron and Vision, Quicksilver, Scarlet Witch. All those important characters.
Yeah, I feel like it's a really good development for Iron Man. And this is really where I started to like Iron Man, because before I didn't really care for him. But this movie is really where I started to like Iron Man, because he ceased being like this really jerk, because he started to realize, oh, there's actually things that are more important to life than just money and
see, what's funny is I actually like him less in this movie than the first one, precisely because of his I've got to be the one to save everybody. I've got to be the one. Yeah. I've got to be the savior of the Marvel universe. And I'm like, no, you don't.
But I like from Avengers 1 and onward, where he switches from being just like this low life scum that pretends to be a hero to actually being a hero.
Right. At the end.
So he might be himself still and let that influence how he's a hero. But I like that better.
So I think in the first Iron Man movie, he was a bit of a low life at the beginning.
Yeah.
Then he got a reality check and he started to reconsider things. And up until he says, all right, I'm Iron Man, I think he was going to turn that corner. But when he said, I'm Iron Man in front of the news, he kept going. He sort of regressed and went back to that pompous attitude he had. And then at the end of Avengers 1, where he's willing to sacrifice himself to sort of save the day, you're like, this dude is a hero. This dude is legit and stuff. So,
anyways, I liked the Ultron thing. I thought it was really fun. They did a lot of ties to the original comic. Although I was disappointed that Thor didn't bust through a wall and say, "We shall have words with him."
Yeah, Ultron, we'd have words with thee, and then they showed the Quinjet flying off. That would have made the movie amazing, because the whole time they're fighting him, they're holding their own, but they could lose at any moment, and then the cavalry shows up.
I think the main reason it falls this far is because the end with the floating island.
Oh, right.
That was just a little too ridiculous.
Yeah.
Very comic booky, but I was just like, really? Like, on a big screen? Like, you're going to have them have this giant island, rocket ship or whatever to destroy all? It was weird.
I would have been okay with that if they were fighting Graviton.
But Vision, man, that was awesome. Everything about that. All right.
Hold on. I appreciated Quicksilver as well. I like that version better than the X-Men one. And I know I'm in the minority there.
Well, I would agree. I liked the X-Men one. I just think this is more true to the character.
Yeah. So, just wanted to say that because he doesn't get the kind of love he deserves. That dude did an excellent job. And, dude, I knew he was going to die going into it. But when he got shot and he's standing there, I'm like, no!
The other one is trying too hard to be Wally West.
Yeah. And Wally West, you ain't.
Anyways, all right. So, number 12, Ant-Man 2. I love this movie.
The Return of
I like this one better than the first one. he you really delve into him just trying to be a father. It's kind of after Cap 3, and
where he's been arrested
so
and
he's
imprisoned
he's at
again.
he's at under house arrest, and he's trying to be good and not do any superheroing because he doesn't want to lose his daughter. And
That's good
there's
dad ruling right there.
I really just like how there's actually a wholesome dad in a movie.
A stand-up dad,
Right.
not a loser that you're like, man, can this guy be any
I
worse?
mean, that just I feel like is underused in movies these days. So a dad who actually cares about his kids and is willing to even risk, what he does to for his kids. That's just such a great message.
We need more of that.
And I love the story with the Wasp. She's great, and they go into the quantum realm, which is so much fun, and a lot of more sciencey stuff, which really makes it feel bigger than it actually is.
Which is interesting because when they announced that Scott Lang was going to be Ant-Man and not Hank Pym, some folks were upset that they were going to avoid the science stuff, but it seems like they've really kind of leaned into it. And hey, look at that. We got Michelle Pfeiffer in a Marvel movie, and we got Michael Keaton in a Marvel movie. I'm just saying, Catwoman and Batman. I dig it.
So really great, really fun movie. Just hilarious. I love how much they use the shrinking and raising.
Oh right, like the Pez dispenser.
That was funny.
They taking the building with them.
Yeah, they take the building with them as a briefcase. Hilarious. So, again, like as much as I like Ant-Man, the only reason it falls this low is because it's such a small, contained movie and doesn't really expand a whole lot.
Which is ironic because part of his power is shrinking and expanding. So.
All right.
Couldn't resist.
Number 11.
The Vulture. I mean, Spider-Man Homecoming.
Spider-Man Homecoming.
Okay. I just have to go on record. Michael Keaton as Batman is probably my favorite Batman. So him as the Vulture.
I like what's his name.
Oh my goodness. Christian Bale.
No, please.
Adam West. George Clooney.
Batman the animated series.
Oh, Kevin Conroy. No. I meant for the live.
The Batman.
I agree. I'm talking live action movies. Talking live
Adam
action
West.
movies.
Come on, man.
I like Michael Keaton so much better. He has
Adam West.
a more demented persona in real life than Adam West could.
I love Adam West. He's so much fun.
I like Adam West.
I like Michael Keaton. Don't get me wrong. He's probably my favorite modern Batman.
Okay, I'll take that. I will take that.
Other than Kevin Conroy.
Right, but
if you're gonna count voice acting for Mark Hamill, you've got to count it for.
This isn't about Batman.
For
We're
Batman.
talking about Spider-Man Homecoming.
He was great.
Can I ask a question, Nubby? If they had changed the young man's name to Miles Morales, would this movie have been a bit different? Would it have been any different?
I'd have liked it better.
I think it would have been a lot better if they had just gone with Miles Morales.
Right, because MJ's not in there.
I mean, there's a girl named MJ, but
you basically have he's basically Miles Morales in this movie.
Right. There's nothing distinctively Peter Parker about
what's his name? Ganke, however you say his name, which is Miles Morales' best friend. He's basically in this movie.
Oh, okay.
They named him something different in the movie, but they're like, we're gonna take from Miles Morales and give it to Peter Parker. It's kind of like Wally West. Like they took a lot of the things people loved about Wally West and gave them to Barry because they realized, oh, that's actually a better character. But people like the name Peter Parker.
Right, because that's the name they associate with Spider-Man. But as a Spider-Man fan who loved the Tobey Maguire movies, and I really appreciated this movie, if they had called him Miles Morales, I don't think I would have hated this movie.
Yeah. I
mean, there's nothing about it that's decidedly Peter Parker. He doesn't have an old aunt. He's got a young aunt, which is fine because I think the stuff with Tony Stark is hilarious because Robert Downey Jr. and Marissa Tomei were in a romantic comedy movie in the 90s, and that's what they're playing off of. They have great chemistry together, and it's hilarious. How's your aunt doing? Like, he asked that at the most awkward times, and it's always hilarious. And I loved Happy Hogan. Thank you, somebody, for using Jon Favreau as Happy Hogan. Like, I love that guy. He's hilarious to me. So
I love him trying to figure out the Iron Spider suit.
yes,
I know it's not technically the Iron Spider, but if Tony Stark gives it to you, it's the Iron Spider. So.
right. I want to say it was Jennifer Connelly who was doing the voice of Karen, right? Wasn't that her name? Karen, the AI.
Maybe.
She played Betty Ross, Betty Banner, in the first Hulk movie, the Ang Lee Hulk movie. So I just thought that was kind of funny that she was the AI.
Yeah.
And let me just say this. Like, I thought that was an interesting way to get around the inner monologue that Spider-Man pretty much always has.
Yeah.
So that he's got somebody to talk to.
Right.
And he doesn't come across as being demented.
He's always sits there and talks to the villains, which I love.
Right.
And he did such a good job at that in this movie. I love the Iron Man being like the older, like the father figure for Spider-Man, which is great. I like that in the Ultimate Spider-Man.
But
TV
that
show.
was never the dynamic between Iron Man and Spider-Man Peter Parker.
Right.
So honestly, I feel like that could work so much better if this character
That's
were
more of a recent thing.
Miles Morales. Yeah.
So.
But I mean, Peter Parker and Iron Man are only about like 4 or 5 years apart in real life. You know, as far as not the actors, but the actual comic book characters. Like the setting for each character is not significantly different. So I thought that was like, if you want to have that relationship, do Miles Morales.
They should have done Miles Morales.
I mean,
then like you could in like Far From Home, you could reference like the original Spider-Man.
Right.
That would have been great. And you'd have a diverse character because you have Miles Morales, who's awesome. A legacy character that would be in there. And you have more powers than just Spider-Man. Like he can do his Venom shot. He can do invisibility. It's awesome. But no, we want Peter Parker.
And I don't mind Peter Parker, but I just really appreciate the first 2
2
Tobey Maguire movies. Right.
I'm just like, okay, can we move on? All right, anyways.
Anyway, yeah, let's move on.
Spider-Man's great. All right, top 10.
Woo-hoo!
Coming in at 10 is Captain America #1.
You know why this movie's awesome? It's a historical setting.
I love it. I love it.
It's more of a war movie with superheroes than it is a superhero movie with a war. And I love that. There's something about that because you can like really get invested with the characters more so than just the main character. I go back and forth as far as the Bucky role.
Yeah.
Because in the comics he was a mascot. In the movie he was more of a soldier than Steve was before he got his powers. There's aspects of that I really like, and then other parts I'm like, I don't know if I like it as much. So
I like the best friend part in there.
Oh, I like the best friend part. Yeah, that was there.
And I like that he's kind of like this, more weakling kind of guy. And I love that.
I love that.
They
we
make
can
sure
do this all day.
That he's, true to heart, and that's what makes him a better soldier than all the others. And that was really cool. I love that he just takes the pin out of the flagpole and grabs the flag. That was great.
I loved when he threw himself on the grenade. And
I was gonna say that's one of my favorite parts of the movie because he throws himself on a dead grenade and everybody else runs away because he's trying to save some people, and I'm like, that's Captain America right there. That's Captain America.
So in literature, there's such a thing as called intertextuality, and that's where repeated phrases are used to sort of bridge these different ideas. And I love the scene where he's getting the snot beat out of him. In the alleyway, and he's like, I could keep this up all day. And then they use that in Civil War.
Oh, man.
I was just like, dude, that's so awesome just to connect that, because it's like his character is such that he's willing to take a beating for whatever belief it is that he has.
And if you think about it, he's the weakest of the Avengers. Like, he may be physically...
No, Hawkeye is the weakest of the Avengers.
So I'm thinking... Hulk, Thor,
Iron
Man.
Okay. Yeah. The top 4. I got you.
He's the weakest. All he has is super strength, which, is great.
Only gets you so far.
I think he can take Iron Man. That'd be the only one he could take because he outsmart Iron Man strategically.
Maybe.
But Thor and Hulk, and especially when Tony has his armor, like he just kind of pales in comparison to the others. Kind of like Batman with the Justice League. but at the same time, like he's really like the moral core of them,
Right.
and
Language.
and just his
Wrong movie. Sorry.
his strategic nature, his courage, his combat knowledge, and everything really just makes him a natural leader. And like everybody looks up to him. Even Thor, who's been around hundreds of years longer,
I had no idea
Steve
where to drop
to
this
Cap.
at, but I was reading a magazine that was it was all about the Avengers, and this is from 20 plus years ago, and it like one of the number one moments comes from, ironically, or maybe not ironically, but strangely from Daredevil. During the Born Again thing, where Daredevil's identity has been outed to the Kingpin, and Kingpin is going after Matt Murdock, and Hell's Kitchen is on fire, and the Avengers show up, and Captain America, he's standing there sort of directing traffic, and he's like he commands with a voice, or he has a voice that commanded God, and it does. And then you see Thor with his hammer in the air, and he's bringing rain down on the area to put the fires out, and you're just like, that's awesome.
I like the scene in Avengers 1 where everybody's fighting, or he goes and tells the cops, he's like, do this, like, why should we listen to you? And then he just beats up these aliens.
Right
like,
next to them.
Oh, okay. Well,
we'll listen now.
Makes sense. You do that, and we'll do this.
Right.
All right. Number 9 is The Incredible Hulk.
Go ahead.
All right. This movie was so much better than the first one.
Oh my goodness.
So much better.
Yes. The only way this movie could have been any better is if Ruffalo was Banner. I liked Ed Norton as Bruce Banner. I was really into him trying to control it at the beginning.
Yeah.
I was into it where he's like trying to learn Spanish, and the guys are messing with him in the factory. I'm like, okay, this will be good.
You wouldn't like me
when I'm hungry, because I think that's what he ends up saying.
Such a good movie. And the villain,
the Abomination,
is so much better than his father.
And they laid the well.
I enjoyed
that's one of those top 10 worst comic movies.
I enjoyed the first movie, but it's just.
I enjoyed the story. Give me a better villain though.
Yeah.
Don't give me Hulk dogs. I don't want Hulk dogs.
They were dumb.
If that's like the middle of the movie kind of fight, and that's it, I'm okay with that. I dug on the way that they were.
Isn't there like a scene where Stan Lee drinks his blood that was in the?
That's in the set. Yeah,
that's so funny.
The Incredible Hulk. Yeah.
But that's where we meet Iron Man in that one, don't we? Or is it we meet Hulk in Iron Man 1? The end of one of those two, we see.
I think Tony Stark, after Iron Man 1, meets Hulk, or meets Thunderbolt Ross. I forget, Thaddeus.
There's one where they talk, Banner and Stark talk, I'm pretty sure. Or somebody, they cross over in one of those two movies. We'll look it up later, but we'll put it in the bottom. But
no, we won't, because at the end of the Hulk movie, Tony Stark comes into a bar and sits down with General Ross, and they're talking about the Avengers.
Okay, that's what I was talking about.
Because so he was wanting to use Abomination, I forget his name, Blonsky, for the Avengers or something. There was like talk of that, and then there's like one of those little short movies that they make where what's his name? Oh gosh, he dies in the first Avengers movie.
Agent Coulson.
Yes, thank you. He's on his way to the Thor site or something, and he's talking to somebody about Blonsky.
But just a really solid movie. Other than I think Avengers 1, I think it's the best Hulk we've had. Why haven't we gotten a Mark Ruffalo Hulk movie?
Because Paramount owns the rights.
Universal.
Whatever, yeah. So Universal.
Yeah. No, I know why, but come on, like you've got Spider-Man. Let's get Incredible Hulk.
Marvel, here's an idea. Give us a short Hulk movie. Like if you do 3 45-minute movies or whatever, one featuring the Hulk, one featuring like Black Widow, and one featuring Hawkeye or something, you could call it Tales to Astonish. And then you give us a Hulk movie without running into copyright issues, selling it as a whole.
Well, we got Fantastic Four now, so we're gonna have a Thing versus Hulk eventually. Anyways,
I need a good Fantastic Four movie. The first one is tolerable. The second one, the third one, which was the first one or something.
That might
I don't
be
count
one of
that
the
as
worst.
any. No, it is. Yeah, it's so bad, so bad.
Spider-Man 3. All right, number 8, Doctor Strange. I love this movie.
Number 8, Doctor Strange. We're just gonna go back and forth.
I love this movie. It's so good. I loved all the magical stuff. It really was a turning point for Marvel, I think.
Yeah.
Especially right after Guardians. Guardians was really the big turning point, but then Doctor Strange was just like, oh, there's this whole we can go into all these other things.
Into really weird areas.
And then we got to the quantum realm with Ant-Man, which so that they're expanding and doing all these weird things.
Yeah, so really no longer are we bound by the magic is science, but magic is magic.
As soon as they announced Doctor Strange, I was like, we need Benedict Cumberbatch in this. That's what we need. And then they got him. I was like, yes, because he's perfect. He's perfect for Doctor Strange.
He's got the snark, right? But he's also got the acting gravity, like that, the weight to his character, like to any character that he portrays.
And tell me that any scene in Avengers 3 with him and Tony Stark isn't the best ever.
Right.
It's amazing.
Oh, I loved it when he's like sitting there going back and forth with Ebony Maw. I'm like, I can't wait till he gets his revenge. So I was a little disappointed he got sucked out into space. We talked about that, but I just really wanted to see.
Go chase the wizard. Really great. And I loved how he beats Dormammu in the end of the movie.
Right.
He very clever.
Quit. He won't quit.
Very clever. Anyways, all right.
He's going to be the key to Avengers 4. I'm just going to tell you right now. It will be Doctor Strange who gets the shining moment. And if he does not lead the Avengers after Iron Man dies and or retires, I'm going to be upset. Because I think he would be great.
Yeah.
And Captain America, we love you, but
I think he's going to be what he did in Avengers 3, I think is going to be the key linchpin to Avengers 4.
Absolutely.
All right, number 7, Iron Man 1.
Woo!
This one isn't my favorite.
I love it so much because I love the Iron Man.
I like the movie. It's a really great movie, very good. It's just I don't really care for the character.
No gang signs. Oh, that's okay. You can throw it up. It's just so funny. It's a good movie. It's a superhero movie that doesn't take itself so seriously.
I mean, this really is the movie that kicked off the MCU. Mm-hmm. It's the movie that really changed Robert Downey Jr.'s life.
Yeah.
He was in a bad place until that movie came out, and then he was suddenly a hit.
Yeah.
And
I loved him in Sherlock. Those are good movies. I'm looking forward to the third one. I'm so glad that's going to get made. Now that I know he's not going to be Iron Man as much anymore, if at all.
I like the movie. I just prefer a nicer Tony Stark.
Yeah, right. No,
a moral Tony Stark.
Right.
As much as you can get him to be moral.
So. The only downside I thought was they didn't lay as much groundwork as they could for future movies, like with his alcoholism and stuff like that. Like they could have shown him making some bad decisions in the first one and almost making it look like he's learned from them in such a way that it's not going to happen again, but then it does. But I mean, how can you not love all the test flights?
Yeah, that's funny.
With the extinguisher and stuff.
And then that was really our first. I mean, we saw Iron Man show up in Hulk, but
Tony Stark anyway.
But when we saw the Shield in Iron Man 2, was that right?
No, it was in the first one. Yeah.
Even though it wasn't really a shield, but
it
was a model of a shield, which was we're like, oh my goodness, we're getting Captain America soon.
Yeah.
Like everybody just freaked out, and I think that moment in history is just like
that's why it automatically makes it
one of the reasons
top
it
10
to be in the top 3.
Yeah.
All right, number 6. Guardians of the Galaxy #1. I love this movie. This movie was my favorite movie for Marvel for a long time. I mean, it dared to do things that were a little crazy.
I guess everything else came after that.
I loved what's his name, Chris Pratt from Parks and Rec.
And Everwood, for those of you who have females in your life that made you watch that show at some point. or
perfect.
if you watched it because you like your girl who liked the show and you were hoping that she would like you back. Whatever. It's whatever.
But he's perfect for Star-Lord. He's perfect for Star-Lord. And then, like, I like that they made it gritty, but it was still, like, family-friendly at the same time. Like, that's a fair balance.
How do you beat a villain with a dance-off?
It is so Chris Pratt thing to do. We're gonna do a dance-off, and he's like,
Drax,
I don't understand what's going on here. And
it wouldn't go over my head. I would reach up and pull it down.
I'm too quick. I would catch it. I can't believe they did that to Drax in the second one, because he's so good in the first one.
Right.
Constantly charging in the battle. He does it against the big monster thing at the beginning, but after that, he's kind of too passive, in my opinion. Rocket Raccoon is hilarious. Him and Groot are great. I love that. I'm glad that we have more of an adult Groot again. As much as I love, Baby Groot. Yeah. But I mean, I don't think they knew what they were doing when they made a joke about a Baby Groot, and then it blew up. And
right. I'm so glad that Bradley Cooper, the voice of Rocket Raccoon, is totally cool with being the voice of Rocket Raccoon and not, let me take the mask off like every other hero in the MCU. Because secret identities, who needs those? Oh. Except for Spider-Man. He seems to keep his, and I appreciate that.
You're a small rabbit. That's what Thor calls. All right,
come on, rabbits.
Guardians of the Galaxy 1 is just so good. It's so funny. It's got a lot of building. It really plays into the main theme of the whole universe, and you see a lot more Thanos than we had at the time, and just really excellent. Really excellent.
Ronan was pretty decent.
For Ronan.
Right.
So, all right. Number 5.
This one has to be in the top 5. There's like a unwritten rule about it.
Avengers 1. Dude, when this came out, like, everyone flipped out. It was crazy. I think it's one of the few movies that I went and saw, like, multiple opening times. Weekend.
Yeah.
And then it was the first one I'd ever seen more than once in the theater.
Oh, nice.
I went and saw it like 5 or 6 times.
Oh, well, your fandom is greater than mine. I saw it twice in theaters.
Oh, man, it was so good.
I saw it the day it came out. My son, I think, was maybe a month and a half, 2 months old.
Yeah.
And our AC had gone out. And the AC repairman was coming. And I was waiting on him to get there so that I could deal with that and then leave my wife with the kid and go watch the movie. And I was almost late to it, but it was good. I mean, it was
such
really
a great
good.
movie. Such a great movie. I mean, it's kind of cheesy after you've watched it a bunch of times, and I'm not sure it ages as well. But boy,
well, yeah, I mean, when you change the name to Justice League and pretend like it's a new movie, that's not going to go over well.
But
come on, DC, you have great characters. Do something with them other than copy Marvel's successes.
But I mean, it's such an important movie, I think, historically, because I mean, they did what no other franchise had really done.
They built to this movie.
They united a franchise that's
a series of franchises,
right, and made it an even bigger universe, which is crazy. So, and then everybody else has tried to do it and failed.
All I know is when X-Men came out in the late 90s, early 2000s, who knew we'd ever get like a real Avengers movie?
Yeah.
With all of these characters, like
like half the movie isn't even fighting; it's them fighting each other for different reasons, which is great. And they never stop.
Oh, and Thor versus Hulk. Be Beautiful. Still my heart.
Beautiful.
That's one of my favorite battles in all the movies.
That's really good.
I love it when Hulk's trying to pick up his hammer and Thor whacks him. I'm just like.
I like when they're all on the bridge and yelling at each other.
Yeah.
And it's really great.
And I love when
anytime Cap and Iron Man fight.
Yeah. Well, I loved it when Iron Man was like teasing Bruce Banner too.
Yeah.
He's like, you gonna let him out? I want to see your rage monster. He's like, you really don't.
Yeah. Oh man, such a great movie. All right, so number 4, Captain America 2.
Oh, such a great movie. I mean, well, we're just gonna keep saying that over and over again. So just suck it up and deal with it.
They're all great.
What, like the Falcon? Thank you. On your left. On your left. On your left. What an excellent way to start that.
Every while every other of the franchises was kind of going downhill, you had Thor going down, and you had Iron Man going down. Captain America just kept getting better. Every movie that came out with Captain America was better than the last one.
It is one of the few superhero movies where the second one is easily as good, if not better, than the first one. I mean, it's like Star Wars with the original trilogy.
The greatest sequel of all time.
Absolutely. So, absolutely. There's no question in my mind.
Really
of that.
Great. Really
and I'm not even that big a Star Wars fan, and I agree with that.
And then,
Spider-Man 2 with Tobey Maguire, Dr. Octopus.
But
that's one of my
favorites. Adding, the Winter Soldier, everything about the movie was excellent.
Right, and they delved into so much more than just a superhero movie. Like, there was espionage, there was a thriller feel to it, like, what the heck's going to happen next? And then there were throwbacks, like Armin Zola in the underground computer thing or whatever. And then to see how deep Hydra had gotten.
Right.
I mean, all of
just
that.
Just completely changed the universe. I love the... I really feel like he portrays, the essence of being an American, too, in this. And
Captain America gets to fight and show us that he can fight really well.
Are
we going to do this, guys?
When he fights the... what's that guy's name?
Crossbones.
Yeah, man, excellent. And especially my favorite scene is when they're in the elevators, so we're gonna do this.
Right.
They're trying to mask what's going on, and he's like, dude, I know what's going on.
I know you guys you're about to try and take me out.
And they take his shield, he doesn't even use it for half the fight. Right. And it's I don't even need this, guys. I can take y'all without it. It's so good.
And dude, they had Batroc the Leaper on the ship early in the movie, and you're like, dude, they made Batroc the Leaper seem cool.
and his takedown was amazing.
He's so silly in the comics.
So good.
To be able to make that character remotely interesting for anybody who's not a comic book fan is... And so, I mean, honestly, this was the turning point, I think, of the MCU, because this is when the Russo brothers stepped in, I think, because Johnson was the director of the first Cap movie, and then the Russo brothers got Cap 2, and they've just been running with the ball ever since. And
I can't think of a Marvel movie they've made that was bad.
Right? No, I mean,
in fact, they're all at the top.
If you watch this, you're gonna see their movies just keep getting better.
And I love the in Cap 2 and 3, you really see this small government argument, which I love as a libertarian. And you see the corruption that happens in the government, and you're just we just want freedom and liberty. We're not willing to give up our liberty and freedoms just for protection, which is what they're arguing for. And I'm just this is awesome. Captain America standing up for the American way right there. Just leave us alone and let us be.
Right.
And that really ties into our number 3, Captain America number 3, Civil War, man. When that movie came out, it became my favorite, hands down.
The fight scene at the airport is cinematic goodness.
I mean,
go and watch that 10 times.
First of all,
tell me you don't love comic book movies.
Black Panther and Winter Soldier are amazing.
Black Panther, I love the character so much. When I first was introduced to the character in the comics, it was in a Captain America comic book, which is ironic. But he had teamed up with Captain America and Falcon and Kazar in the Savage Land. They were dealing with some giant robot or something, and I was hooked. Just the idea of the Black Panther seems so cool to me. He seemed like such an interesting character, and he is on display in Captain America.
There's so much going on that's amazing in this movie. One, you had Baron Zemo, who was great.
Yep.
His whole story, which kind of seems weird when you think about the whole thing, but it played out really well in the movie. Then you had Black Panther, who was amazing. Amazing.
In my mind,
best part of the movie. Best part of the movie. And then you had Spider-Man show up, which everybody was excited about.
Underoos.
And then you had
Ant-Man
Giant Man
show up
and meet the other people, which was awesome. They
So
did
hilarious.
really well with Hawkeye,
Yes.
which
They
was
gave
great.
him a background.
You had Vision and Scarlet Witch actually do something.
Yeah,
which
they were
didn't
flirting
really,
with each other.
which was really great. Even better in the third Avenger movie, but they were really good in that movie. You had you really just went in depth with um, uh, Black Widow and Cap, which I love those two together. They're really great. They're really great in Winter Soldier. Even better every time they show up together.
And Falcon and War Machine
Falcon and
beefing
War Machine.
with each other.
And
They were so
like, and what happens to War Machine in the movie is so like
heartbreaking.
heartbreaking because you're like, these guys are friends and like they almost killed him,
Right.
and now like it really just brings some emotion to the whole movie. But then like the best part of the movie, hands down, Iron Man versus Cap at the end. With a little Winter Soldier mixed in, just phenomenal.
When Cap leaves them and goes to the prison to get the rest of the crew and break them out,
Yeah,
you're just heartbroken because you're like, you want the good guys to win, but you're like, this isn't winning.
Yeah,
this isn't winning.
What I liked about that is it really had a point where a Marvel movie could end on a low note,
Yeah,
and still be excellent.
Which really set the groundwork for Avengers 3.
I think my favorite part of the movie is when Iron Man says, "That's not your shield, it's mine."
All right.
And Cap's like, "I don't need this shield. Like, the shield isn't who I am. Like it's
a symbol
it's a
of
symbol,
what I believe in.
But it's it's not me." He drops it and he's like, whatever. It's just a shield. Like. It's not at that point he's like, you're missing the whole importance. Like it's not the shield that makes what I'm fighting for. And anyways, number
Marvel,
2.
Hold on, Marvel.
Right.
I'm just gonna tell you this, Marvel. In Avengers 4, I need you to have Captain America say, "Avengers Assemble." Him or Iron Man, either one.
And I want him to stand up to Thanos.
Well, right. He's got to get.
And he needs to say, I know that they've avoided a lot of the quotes from the comics, but why?
Why?
He needs to say, as long as one of us is there, we will resist you.
Right.
Because that is such a huge.
You'll never win.
All right.
So Avengers Assemble. I need that.
Number 2. Thor number 3. Dude, this movie
Ragnarok
was awesome. This movie changed everything. I was like, okay. I was excited when I heard that they were going to do the Planet Hulk story.
Which they didn't really do. They
sort of
adapted it.
Sort of, yeah. They need to do World War Hulk. Now that they have everybody.
Yeah, I don't know how they're going to do it, though.
That'd be awesome.
I don't know how
I'm sure that, they'll probably change his motivation, but I think it'd be interesting.
Right. So if he just declares war,
yeah,
as a result of something they do on Earth, I guess that makes sense.
I don't think Bruce Banner would do it, but Hulk would.
Right.
So,
and from what I gather, it's going to be Professor Hulk moving forward, so Bruce Banner in control of the Hulk. I'm excited if that's true, because Peter David wrote some amazing comics about that guy.
So,
and he still wasn't like.
But this movie was great.
Just a straight up hero.
One of my big problems with a lot of shows and movies with the Hulk is that they don't have Bruce Banner. Yeah. I really feel like you miss the point of the Hulk if you don't have Bruce Banner, because
it's very gentle and high.
Right, and I think the Incredible Hulk did an amazing job with that. And they did it pretty well.
We got a better
Avengers
Bruce Banner, so
they did it pretty. They've done it well in the MCU.
Yeah.
It's the cartoons and everything. All they give you is the Hulk, and I know they're for more kids and stuff, and kids like to see the Hulk smash stuff. But I watch cartoons too. Like I want to see.
My wife has this saying: "Kids rise to the level of your expectation."
All right.
So give them a thoughtful Hulk. Where they have to think about stuff and not just Hulk smash every 5 seconds. Right. Kids can.
They can follow stories. If he's Bruce Banner, like part of the time. But
write it well.
This movie was so good.
If kids
Chris Hemsworth was amazing.
If kids can follow Harry Potter, they can follow an intelligent Hulk story.
Chris Hemsworth made that movie.
Oh my goodness,
he was so funny.
Okay, so he was good in the first Thor movie, which is why it's ranked pretty high somewhere. I don't know. Whatever.
15 out of 20. Super high. 3/4 of the way down.
It's above me at the moment.
It's above the second one.
It's above me at the moment. Anyway, he was good in that, right? But there was this like little video they did with him and his roommate in Australia or something.
Oh yeah, that was
and
funny.
that junk made me just say, okay, I need more of this Thor. I want more of this Thor.
Yeah, I like the.
And they gave us that.
Yeah, I feel like Thor can take himself too seriously.
Right, but if he does it with his tongue in cheek
Right.
or whatever, then everybody gets to enjoy Thor, and
Right.
it's not just this highbrow experience.
I think with the first one, it was fine for him to be kind of
right. It needed that
a jerk
because he has to learn humility. Like that's the whole.
But once he's learned humility, like he can kind of make fun of everything because he's he realizes how powerful he is, but at the same time he remains humble.
Right.
But it's played out really well in the scene where he's up against that what's it called, that giant
Surtur.
Yeah, and he's like hanging from a chain upside down, spinning around and making jokes the whole time. It's too funny.
I mean, who else is gonna laugh at the end of all things other than this Thor?
Yeah. But dude,
so I kind of hope he sticks around
when he got his haircut.
Stuff.
Well, that's a hilarious Stanley
cameo. Yeah.
He's like, please, not the hair, not the hair. But he looks so awesome with short hair.
Yeah, no.
I like both. And then like when he has the eye patch at the end. But dude, moving on to the number one position because I want to talk about this.
Hold on. I love that they introduced so many interesting characters and have totally laid the groundwork for a true Defenders movie. We've got Doctor Strange. We've got a Hulk. They have the rights to Silver Surfer. They have the rights to Namor the Submariner. And they've got Valkyrie.
I don't know.
Give me They do, because it's with the Fantastic Four.
I don't know.
Give me a true Defenders movie. That's all I'm asking for. And it's not too much. Moving on. What?
I was looking at something. I thought he was with the Hulk.
Namor?
Yeah.
I think they got the rights to Namor before the Fantastic Four, but I'm saying Marvel has the rights to all of that now.
Anyways, yeah. So number one, of course, Avengers 3.
Infinity War.
Such a great movie. And I'm just gonna say,
I saw that one twice too.
I wanted to jump into it. My favorite scene in the whole movie is when Thor comes down with his hammer and
the lightning.
Dude, that is like gave me chills. I was
yeah.
Like, dude,
because we weren't expecting that.
It's on now.
The tide of the battle was turning toward the enemy, and then Thor shows up, and you're like,
"It's over. Go. It's over now."
Yeah.
And then when he comes and plunges that hammer into Thanos, dude, man,
you're like, "Wait, is he gonna beat him?"
Dude.
And then Thanos is like, and you're like,
"You should have gone for the head." Boom. And I was like. Wow.
or at least the wrist. Like, because you could have cut through that, right?
That's just cray-cray right there. It was so good.
Don't talk like that.
It was so good.
We don't need to foster bad slang.
It was such a great movie.
Yeah.
Such a great movie.
One of my favorite scenes was when Vision and Scarlet Witch are about to get murked by the Black Order, and then this dark figure shows up, and they throw the spear at it.
Yeah.
And we know it's Captain America. Like, the way he's like,
I love when Black Panther's like, give that man a shield. Although,
except they don't give him a shield.
My two problems with the movie, Captain America doesn't get a shield. I mean, he's in Wakanda. Get the man a shield. Not some weird little gauntlets. Give him a shield. And then the second one was I felt like Captain America and Black Panther were underused.
Oh, that's true. They were awesome in scenes, but the heart of the movie was not them.
You're like 20 minutes in before Black Panther shows up. I was like,
right.
Why didn't he go with Cap and Black Widow and Falcon and save like Scarlet Witch and Vision? Like that would have been perfect to see him in it, like right there. Like I can understand waiting for Cap. But I don't understand waiting even longer for Black Panther. Because, I mean, you don't even see him dressed in his Black Panther suit. He's just the king. Although I did love the scene where they want Bucky, No, it wasn't Bucky. It was Falcon tells Bruce to bow before the king.
Right.
No,
and then he's like,
we don't do that. Too funny. Too funny. Yeah, he's a king, of course.
One of my favorite parts was Rhodey. He's talking to Ross, and he's like, "Arrest that man." Yeah, I'll get right on that. Hey, Cap, welcome back.
might have just committed treason, but that was good. I like them calling Thor Space Angel.
Yes, it's like a pirate
angel.
Baby.
Pirate baby angel thing.
It's like an angel and a pirate had a baby.
Rocket Raccoon and Thor in this movie were priceless.
Yes,
priceless. Worth the price of admission itself.
Yeah, if you haven't seen this movie and you're watching this video, go watch the movie instead.
And we got Red Skull shows back up, which was awesome.
Oh, spoiler alerts.
Yeah.
10 minutes afterward.
Yeah, no. Which was amazing. When I saw him and I heard his voice, I was like, no, they didn't. They didn't get him in there. I was like, yes.
And the dude who did his voice, he's not Agent Smith, right? From the Matrix. But he was excellent. So, Marvel, if you're going to keep the Red Skull, keep that dude. I'm down for that guy being.
So that was awesome. Thanos was great.
Yes.
I was worried because I was like, okay, if Thanos can't beat the Avengers by himself without the gauntlet, then I feel like there's a problem. Because like Thanos needs to be able to beat the entire Avengers without the gauntlet, and then when he has the gauntlet, it's even worse. And then when he like punches the Hulk and like takes him down, dude, I was like, at the very beginning of the film, I was like,
I was so excited. I'm like, yes, there's the Hulk already. This is awesome. And then he's getting the crap kicked out. I'm like,
dude, like this
dude is serious.
This is serious. I was like, okay, that's the perfect Thanos right there. The perfect Thanos. And I love that Loki is the one who said, "Oh, well, we have a Hulk."
Right. He knows what that's like.
So he's been on that side.
To be had by a Hulk.
So that's our list.
Tell us what you think. Do you like the order we've got it in?
How would you rank it? Are there ones that you would rank higher? Let us know.
What's your favorite and why?
You know, again, this list changes the more we watch it, and when he watches Ant-Man, and
it'll probably
he might keep it where it is.
I don't really know what would get bumped for that.
What was the other one you hadn't seen?
Guardians 2.
Guardians 2. Yeah, that's not going to be any higher.
And so
it was good. It just wasn't that good.
Right.
So let us know what you think, and so leave us a comment. Let us know. Subscribe. Give us a like if you like our list.
Yeah.
And
we got a Facebook page.
That's right.
Superhero Chat.
It's under the same name, Superhero Chat, and we changed the logo. So
look for that.
Let us know what you think about that. So I was pretty excited for that, and we will catch you next time. Peace.